me turn my talk. Here we go. How he said he living life as a gringo. Where you question where you fit in every time you mingle. They say you do this with not enough that. My rapping is really bad. This life as a gringo.
Yes, hello and welcome to another episode of Life as a Gringo. I am Dramos, of course. And man, I am coming to you live from my kitchen here in Puerto Rico. Very excited. Apologies that the podcast is a little bit late. I was traveling yesterday and was tying up a bunch of loose ends. And I also just kind of had like this feeling that I wanted to do the podcast from here. I kind of felt like I would be inspired to have a different discussion maybe than things we've talked about in the past, or just like a reaffirmation of things we've talked about that I think are incredibly important. And shocker, I was right. So I'm happy I waited. But I'm here. I'm doing a run of DJ gigs Friday through Sunday with my buddy from New Jersey, DJ McRegan, a fellow Puerto Rican. And yeah, we're just out here. And then from there, no show next week, by the way. I'll be on the road in Miami. And from there, I won't be able to do a podcast. I'll be running around like a crazy person. So no shows next week, just a heads up. But yeah, today I wanted to talk. I guess about a couple of things. I'm just reflecting on these past like 4 years or so. And I also have this like Kevin Hart soundbite stuck in my head. And he basically talks about like the thing that now these are my words. The thing that separates people from those who are the thing that separates those who are able to make their dreams come true and those who don't. And this is my sort of interpretation of it, or that's how I would sort of synthesize, I guess, the meaning behind it. But essentially, he was talking about the idea that when you're crafting your dream life, you're trying to make your goals come true, all these different things, you're essentially working every day, or the way you make it happen is you work every day. You show up every single day with little to no results, and you just keep putting in the work until eventually something happens, and you just keep rinsing and repeating that process over and over again. And he talks about how that's the most difficult thing to do, is to get up every morning, basically flip open your laptop, start going to work on those ideas, opening your notebook, jotting down things, whatever it might be. Like the most difficult thing to do is to do that every single day while seeing no results. And I think for me, what sort of like I think resonated, or why it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks today being here, is this little like tour that I'm doing right now, this run of DJ gigs, is the culmination, or this moment that I'm having. Even these last 2 weeks, I've like I just signed an original song, my first original song in 4 years, and then now I'm doing my first touring gigs in my first like real out of state gigs since 2019, which is fucking crazy. I'm gonna get emotional. But this moment, these things that are sort of beginning to unfold for me right now, are the result of basically from December of last year to now March. And obviously it's been basically longer than that, but like what I would say is from December of last year until now has been a very focused on a very particular goal as far as like DJing and music. And now after months of like working on that with little to no sort of affirmation or little to no reaffirming that I'm on the right path, or little to no results. Now, months later, I'm finally beginning to see the results come to sort of pay off. And that is something I want to remind people of, like you listening to this, because I think it's so easy to get discouraged. And like I get discouraged on a fucking weekly, if not daily basis, you know? And then I'm reminded, right? Then these sort of moments hit me and I'm reminded of like, oh shit, like it's not that things aren't working out for you. It's not that they're not meant to be. It's just like, unfortunately, things take time. Unfortunately, greatness takes time. That's why so many people aren't living their dream life or aren't living up to their capability, because to live up to your capability, to create the greatest version of yourself, takes a tremendous amount of work, a tremendous amount of patience, and effort. And most people are not willing to put in the work or be patient enough to let the results sort of yield themselves, right? It's the idea of Think and Grow Rich, a very famous sort of self-help book, the story of the man who bought property with the plan of digging for gold, right? This is during the gold rush. And he's digging and doesn't hit gold and just decides to give up, sells the entire property. And literally, I don't remember how many feet, it's like 1 foot or 10 feet from gold. Like the next owner just digs 1 foot or 10 feet and they strike upon one of the largest gold, they call them, I think, veins, gold veins that the world had ever seen before. But this man, it would have been that previous owners had he had just kept going and just kept his process, you know, and kept the faith, which is the most difficult thing to do when you're seeing little to no results. So I just kind of want to, I guess, provide anybody with a pick me up for that. I mean, particularly, man, in our community, it's crazy because it's like I can remember doing this stuff, and like my parents, who are of the generation of like college and um you know are very much traditional people in terms of career and things like that. Like I can remember what it was like to essentially be doing this process without anybody's support whatsoever. Like not even my parents. Even now as an adult, they sort of get it, and I think proof of concept has happened enough times that sometimes they almost are the ones, like, ironically now the relationship we have is they're the ones picking me up when I'm feeling like I can't go on, or I'm feeling like I should just give up. They're the ones reminding me of all that I've accomplished, and like they're the ones actually believing in me now, which is wild. But like, you know, I didn't have that forever. And it's just yeah, I don't know. I just want to, like, I feel like there are some of you listening to this that have dreams that go beyond the scope of those around you, and people around you aren't going to be able to fathom what you're talking about until you make it happen. And that is an incredibly alienating and lonely process. And then there's also those of you who maybe do have a great support system around you, but you're finding trouble believing in yourself. And I wanted to just kind of speak to that, to whatever side of the sort of aisle you fall on, or whatever emotion it is that you're struggling with. Like, I know that I'm the guy who can speak to whatever situation it is, because for whatever reason, God has not made my path an incredibly easy one. And I get emotionally with saying that. But I think anybody who would look, and it doesn't mean I'm not blessed, doesn't mean that I haven't had some lucky breaks, but you know, this has been a long, incredibly long path. And quite frankly, there are a few people that I know who have struggled the way that I have for as long as I have, or have gone through the level of obstacles to make simple things happen. And so I feel confident in saying whatever you're going through, I can speak to it to a degree, and sort of hopefully give you a little bit of the pick me up you need to keep on pushing. So I've talked a lot in this little intro thing here. This will basically be like one long mi gente segment, and you're probably going to hear like maybe the roosters in the background. There's a lot going on out here, which is why I love staying out here rather than in a hotel the entire time. But yeah, just a warning. But yeah, this is just like a conversation amongst friends here. So we'll do that for our Mi Gente segment. Mi Gente. All right, so I want to kind of start with the Kevin Hart quote, okay? Let's talk a bit about that. The idea essentially, right? Him talking about the hardest thing is you getting up every single day, putting in work and seeing zero results, but still just continuing on and on. And how that's the most difficult thing to do, but it's the basis of making anything happen. And I constantly repeat that sort of thought in my head to remind myself I'm not alone, because I feel that so fucking much. I was talking to my parents about this the other day, and I was just basically like venting to them a little bit. And I was just like, what's incredibly difficult about what I do, right? It's this idea in this industry. It's like you only eat what you kill, and that is exciting, but also incredibly fucking like anxiety inducing, because there's no guarantees, right? And the hardest part is, in a normal job, I know I'm going to clock in, I'm going to get my same check for the most part, every 2 weeks or whatever, like regardless if I've had a good day at work or not had a good day, I'm still collecting a check, I can guarantee that. Like, I'm seeing the results. Like, even if that week sucked, at least I can see the results in terms of some sort of like payment that correlates directly to that time. Whereas now with, what I do, my routine is essentially I get up at 6 a.m., from like 6 to 6:30, I'm kind of like decompressing, and 6:30 I start my day. And basically from 6:30 until roughly 9 o'clock at night, I'm working. And granted, it's things that I truly enjoy doing, but a lot of that work, there is no direct paycheck correlated to it. A lot of that work is in hopes of it yielding a result that I want, right? So like even where we are right now, right? I talked to you about, I just signed an original record, my first record in 4 years. I'm really excited about that. I got to play my dream venue like once again, Webster Hall in New York City, and this time it was a Latin party, and that was just like an incredible feeling to be able to do that. And then now, back on the road playing my first out-of-state shows since before the fucking pandemic. Like, I think my last out-of-state show was in Vegas at the end of 2019. So it's crazy. Like, I'm in Puerto Rico, having some time to relax, but I'm gonna be playing 3 shows out here. Then I'm flying out to Miami to play another couple shows and be a part of a music conference out there. So I'm on the road for 2 weeks here, right? Now, how has this been created? Like, I started the show by saying, basically, I kind of decided to go all in November of last year, back into like music and DJing and that kind of thing. So from there, I've begun to produce again and do all these things. And, again, as a producer, I'm in my studio, I'm making music. I don't know if it's going to turn into anything, but I'm spending 6 hours a day working on this. In this particular track, to sort of bring it across the finish line, I felt like I needed to have a collaborator. So basically, I produced, I'd say a good 60 to 70% of the song, probably closer to 70. And then I sent it out to a younger producer that I knew that did that same kind of style, that I was like, you know what? I haven't been in the game for a minute. Let me sort of like collab with somebody who's on this, and like it'll kind of help me sharpen my skills once again. And that's what we did. And even that process, weeks and weeks of back and forth. Then we did a session in person. We had gotten feedback from a label. It originally had a sample. We can't clear the sample. Now we have to figure out a way around that and like get it resung and replayed. And it was an old salsa record, so it was a pain in the ass. It's like you have to get a band and the singers, and it's like not an easy thing to do. Process. And then finally we do that. They approve it. Then it's contract negotiation time. Then it's waiting for them to answer something. Then they finally send it. Now I have to wait for everybody to sign it. Now everybody signed it. Now we have to wait for the release date, which is going to be months away, right? So it's like all of this work before a direct return. And we could argue that the direct return is getting it signed, which is amazing. But you're talking about basically 4 months of free work in order to get it signed. And that's the nature of the industry. I'm not complaining. I'm not making it seem like this is like unique to fucking me or something like that. And then now I'm in Puerto Rico about to play some shows. This is months of researching promoters, DJs, going through my Rolodex of people I've met from coming out here the last couple of years. Because I knew I just wanted to get out here and start playing some shows and tap into the scene. And I in my gut, in my heart, the way I sort of view everything is like, to me, Puerto Rico is the gateway to the rest of the world, right? It's to me this incredible, bubbling, creative scene that somehow the rest of the world is paying attention to, even though it's a small little island in the Caribbean. And Bad Bunny's proof of that, right? So then it's months of doing that research, and then hitting people up and back and forth and coordinating and operations. Finally, yep, okay, it's working out, right? We're booking dates now. And then it's coordinating travel. I have another DJ I'm bringing with me. We're coordinating, like I'm the one leading this, so I have to go back and forth. The Webster Hall show that I mentioned, literally I was supposed to be playing like I was considered for 4 to 5 gigs before this, or this was the 5th gig that finally hit. I had another one booked in January, like I canceled last minute, and I was getting considered for a couple more. Like, so these are emails, back and forth research. And then finally now, again, November to March, because I don't want to bore you with the details if you're not an entertainment industry nerd like myself. But it's months and months of legwork of just opening my laptop, looking things up, researching, going back and forth with my best friend ChatGPT, emailing shit, getting my rep to email people, right? Being proactive and all that stuff for us to yield like the month I'm having right now. And then now, like, again, as I had planned in my head, because this is the other portion of it, you have to have a plan. You can't blindly just be doing shit. So like for me, I knew we're going to rattle off a legendary New York City venue. We're going to get some music out there. I'm going to do a tour. And this is like my coming out party that sort of reannounces like, oh, Dramos is back, back doing this whole thing. Right. And then from there, as I had planned, as I had hoped, all of a sudden on social media, people are starting to like hit me up again from like other gigs. Like other DJ homies from, other states and cities, other promoters are seeing it, and they're like, "Oh, yo, we got to have you now in our home place." And that's been the plan. But again, I've had to work from November to March essentially for free with no real like wins. Like you have to create these little fucking wins, right? Along the way, like getting an email response, even if it's a no, that's a win, right? All these little things I have to do in my head. And finally to start yielding results. And I wish I could tell you, like, because I've done this, I've been here before. I wish I could tell you it gets easier. It doesn't. You get just as frustrated, maybe even more frustrated, because you feel like you've earned quicker response times, whatever the fucking case may be, right? But it's like, this is what it takes to win. And in this moment, I'm sitting here, I'm in the kitchen of my house in Puerto Rico, right? I'm recording a fucking podcast. I'm about to go play shows in 2 days. Is Drew the Rooster? He's co-signing. I'm about to play shows in 2 days in Puerto Rico. Like, people are hitting me up that they're excited about coming to see me play. You hear the rooster? I hope you hear us. It just sounds creepy. I'm laughing by myself. Wow, boy. Anyway, so, but like, I was sitting here and I'm like, just reflecting. I'm like, I'm in a moment of extreme joy right now. I'm overcome with joy. Is I guess what I'm getting at. And what I'm trying to remind myself, and I'm trying to be hyper present. I was at the airport yesterday, and I grabbed a beer before my flight, and I just like made it a point to sit down, and I was like, get very present. I like enjoyed the beer like I've never enjoyed a beer before, and I just reminded myself like, this is the months of you pounding away with little to no affirmation that you're on the right path, but just believing in yourself and believing in your vision and sticking to it and honoring your word and honoring all that you said you were going to do. This is the fruit, the culmination of it, right? And take it in. Take in the joy of these moments and use them as fuel for the inevitable difficult lulls along the way, right? And I guess to sort of surmise this thought before we take a quick break, I guess what I'm taking away from it all is life is full of boundless and incredible joy, incredible moments of just relief and beauty. But there are sacrifices and difficult things that need to be done in order to create those moments, right? And I think oftentimes we forget that, or we assume that it's just harder for us, or whatever the case may be. And I think in those difficult moments that we're building, we sort of have to remind ourselves of the fact that these reps we're putting in right now, while they may be going unrewarded, are going to yield us the life we're hoping for. And that the harder we work, the more often those happy moments will occur, right? Because right now I have this great experience that's going to exist for the next 2 weeks essentially, and then it's sort of back to work, back to capitalizing on sort of all of the growth or connections I made via these few months of work. But the idea is, if inevitably you keep putting in enough work, enough of that relentless dedication to what you're doing, you'll have to put in less and less of those hours moving forward. Because in my case, let's say I've already established myself as a touring DJ once again, that I won't have to be doing outreach, but instead the legwork that I did from November till, let's say, the end of this year will then make me a name that is constantly on the lips of people who are booking shows, and they'll be reaching out to me rather than me having to reach out to them. And that means I'll have more moments of joy like I'm having now, and less of the lull of the hard work, essentially, if that makes sense. So we'll table that thought. I got a bunch more I kind of want to think about in terms of hopefully inspiring some people out there. So we'll take a quick break here, and then we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I feel like I talked about myself a lot in that last one. I hope that inspires or like connects with people. I'm also like, like hindsight is 2020, right? And you sort of like, you put rose-colored glasses on past experiences that maybe weren't as great as you remember them to be, but because distance has gone on, and maybe you've had some negative experiences since then, you begin to sort of maybe, I don't want to say idolize, but like you overvalue, like even like past relationships. Sometimes maybe you're going through a breakup, a downturn, you're having like a lonely day, and you're like, I wonder what that person's doing, whatever the fucking case may be, right? And that's not what, I'm not, I don't know, I'm not confessing that my past life was any better. I don't know where I was going with that train of thought, to be completely honest with you. I just started reflecting on past things. Oh, I guess what I was trying to get to was, uh, so I'm not used to this, which like noise also is like a rooster, and then there's like a dog barking off in the distance. Um, I do love my little sound control studio. We'll say that, but I guess what I'm getting at is I'm reflecting on like these last 4 years, basically 3 to 4 years that I've been self-employed. Without a doubt, might be the most difficult years of my entire life, and it's not all just because of career, but the career aspect has been and is on a regular basis incredibly trying and taxing, emotionally, financially, mentally, physically, like in every way possible, right? There really is this level of dedication and sacrifice in order to continue to stay in business for yourself, and also doing so through a creative project or a passionate a subject matter, or a job that you're passionate about, career that you're passionate about. It's just trying on a fucking daily basis, right? But even still, right? And this is where I was getting with the hindsight thing, where there's most definitely the times that I've been very down and depressed, and like been like, oh man, what the fuck did I like fuck up my entire life? This isn't working out, blah blah blah. In those moments, I've glamorized or looked through past moments with rose-colored glasses, and most definitely been like, huh, I wonder if I made some of these the wrong choice in certain areas of life. But what I can honestly say is last night, when I got in here, uh, when I got in here last night to the house, and I'm kind of like, settling in and putting my stuff away, and I hadn't been here in a little bit, so just getting things in order. Um, I was reminded of like, oh yeah, it was all worth it. And particularly this morning, I was eating my pan sobao, our Puerto Rican sweetbread we have it here, fucking amazing. Um, and I was like just setting up my equipment to the podcast as well. And I was like, reminded again, I was like, dude, you would never have been able to do this if you were still punching the clock regularly. You would have had that request off. It would have been a whole fucking thing. There's no way you would have gotten 2 weeks back to back, right? It would have been a whole process, right? And even beyond that, it's like there's no way I would have gone to Puerto Rico. I think I've been 10 times in the last 2 years, maybe. There's no way in hell I would have been able to do that if I was working in some of my past jobs, right? So I think what I'm trying to get at is we have these voices in our heads. The one that pops up when we're down, when we're depressed, when shit isn't working out the way that we hoped it would, and it starts making us question everything that we're doing. And then on the flip side of that, you have the voice when you're in a good mood, when you're happy, you're celebrating, right? When things feel right, when somebody finally responds to that email, when you get the podcast download, when you get that great piece of positive feedback, that affirmation that you're doing something well. And then you have that voice in your head that is reflecting on like, oh, it's all worth it, right? Those little things make it all worth it. And I think I'm trying to remind myself, and hopefully in turn reminding anybody else listening to this, that's the voice that you need to be listening to, and the one that you need to keep reminding yourself of. In the moments where it's great, the way you feel, the way that you view the world, the lens with which you view the world, that's what you should be chasing and what you should be listening to. Because of course, when things aren't working and we're down and we've had a setback, we've had a failure, things didn't work out the way we hoped it would. Of course, we're going to find excuses, somebody to blame ourselves, make ourselves feel bad. But that's not a real reflection of this thing called life, right? Or the possibilities that's out there for this thing called life. That's us going into sort of this immediate protection and safety mode, right? That's our body's like safety response. It's no different than like you touch something hot and like your body, your hand automatically just retracts like quickly without you even having to think about it, right? Then that's like your safety mechanism in your brain that knows, oh wow, pain, let me get away from it. And that's what oftentimes is happening in those moments where we're feeling down, where like we're putting in the work and nobody's fucking responding and nothing is happening, nothing is working, right? Um, you know, and everything sucks, right? And we're just fucking mad at the world. Our boss sucks. We have everything, like nothing's working. Like the safety mechanism in our head is like, okay, how do we get to the safest route possible to like, not have to deal with this level of disappointment and heartbreak, right? But the reality is that sort of middle ground level, that safe mode of not dealing with the level of heartbreak or disappointment, it's like the happy results are capped. Yeah, maybe you have like a blanket as far as some sort of security, which I think is necessary in some sort of form. But on the flip side of that, it can't compare to the euphoria that you feel when you are in line with your purpose, walking your path, and doing the things that you want to do. And that's what we have to sort of keep in mind. Like I think in this life, we've been trained, we've been conditioned to constantly revert back to that safe space. And even though it's not the one that makes us truly happy or fulfilled, at least it like checks one or two of the boxes, right? And I think the thing that you could say is frustrating from the outside looking in is how difficult it is to truly be happy and fulfilled in this life. And that's a reality. In order to be happy and fulfilled in this life, it takes an incredible amount of sacrifice and hard work and disappointment and heartbreak. And that admittingly feels counterintuitive to like it's just kind of like, what the fuck? Why is it so happy? I mean, so hard just to be happy, right? Why is it so difficult just to find fucking happiness, And I don't have an answer to that. I just know that unfortunately that is the process. That is the real thing, right? Just like for many people, you have to date a few ogres before you find your prince or whatever, right? That's just what it is. The way that life is designed, for whatever reason, your level of happiness is going to be in direct relation to the level of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication that you put in. And there's no way around that. There's no get happy, quick scheme. There's no get rich quick scheme, that is, morally sound. It's all correlated to the amount of work that you're putting in and the level of sacrifice that you're willing to make each and every day. And again, that's what separates the people who get to have these moments that I'm having right now, right? On a regular basis. Like those people who are living it regularly is because they sacrificed regularly. And eventually, as I gave you the example of like what happens with my DJ bookings, eventually they sacrificed enough that it threw them in a pathway for enough results to find them, that the sacrifices had to happen less and less. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all, but it happens less and less. And I guess, before we sort of summarize everything we talked about, I guess the last thing I would say is like, I think this world is truly limitless. The only limitation is the one that we place upon ourselves. And if our life is not what we want it to be, it's a direct reflection of ourselves and what we are or aren't doing. And we have to look ourselves in the mirror and really say, what else can I be doing? What should I be doing? Who do I need to be in order to create that sort of idealized version of life? And I'll end it on kind of something I've recently done that I think again just reaffirm this mindset or put it in a bit of a different space for me. But we'll take one more quick break and then we'll have our conclusion stew.
Time for conclusion soon.
All right, so kind of, I think, summarizing all that we've been talking about, I think I have a story. Because I ended on right before the break talking about our life is a reflection of the way that we view ourselves and the work that we are or aren't doing, and the way that we see ourselves, essentially, or the way that we don't see ourselves, depending on your situation. And I recently was getting a bit frustrated in certain partnerships or certain structures that I have set up, right? And I didn't love how much I found myself having to rely on like outside companies or people in order to get certain things done or to move forward. And to be completely honest, it's not as much a reflection on the people I'm partnered with. It's more me. Like for me, consistently, I guess I'm driven by wanting more and more freedom in my situations, particularly career wise. And, eventually I outgrow a certain thing and then I look for the next sort of level of freedom to make myself happy. And I guess I was feeling a bit of those growing pains where I was hitting my ceiling as far as like what I was willing to accept, or how I felt like I wasn't getting the guarantees that I wanted, right? And the only way to do that, the next level would really just be like, I need to go all in on myself and stop using a middle person to be like the blanket for these partnerships or whatever it might be. So what I kind of just did over this last couple weeks, and again, I'm telling you this stuff because I think, as I always say, don't take it at face value. What I tell you doesn't mean literally copy and paste what I did. I mean, you can insert and take out certain things that do or don't apply for you and make the story or the message apply in whatever context need be, right? So what I'm getting at is, for me, I was like, okay, well, I need to then be like directly in business with certain brands or companies and not have a middle person, and I need to proactively be creating roles that maybe don't exist, right? But and that are tailored just for what I do. So I just started reaching out to brands and organizations that I really like, that I actually support, that I use on a regular basis. And I just started blindly emailing people from the company that were in positions that I thought aligned with my skill set or what I do as a creator, and just started basically blindly pitching like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I really love the brand. I would love to try to figure out a way that we can work together in some sort of way. I'm open. Please let me know if there are any opportunities you think that would be a good fit with campaigns you guys are running or whatever it might be. And this might not sound revolutionary to anybody, but I feel like most of us sort of overlook that easy process. Or most of us overlook the thing right in front of us. I know for me, I was sort of under a lot of like the idea of like, all right, I'm just gonna keep doing my social media shit and people will find me. And yeah, some have, and I've seen it work for other people. But also, again, in terms of like the results I want, I have to put in the work. I should have been blindly emailing people and just seeing if anybody was interested in working with me in some sort of capacity, right? Rather than waiting for the opportunity to come to me, I'm going to go out and get it. And again, it's the thankless work every day, opening the laptop, doing research, crafting an email, blah, blah, blah. And 90% of the time not getting a response. But like I've always said, you only need that one yes, right? And So I mean, it's not a yes yet, but one of like a higher ups at one of these brands did respond to me, put me in touch with somebody else. And now we're going to have a meeting about potentially working with them. And it's a brand or an organization that I really want to work with. Like, I don't want to say too many things because I don't want to, put their business out there. But um, it's like right in line with where I am at this point in my life. Um, and that only came as a result of me just saying, okay, you want more freedom, you want to be in control, you want to work with very specific brands, then you have to create those very specific opportunities rather than waiting for one of them to find you. Right. And you have to put in the legwork of finding these people, of pitching them, putting yourself out there and seeing what the hell happens. And that, again, has yielded to, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a meeting coming up that I'm very excited about. But again, it's like I'm creating life. I'm fucking painting the life that I want. And I hope that this goes through so I can tell you what the brand is. But if God willing, if it does, you're going to be like, of course, that's a fucking organization that you were meant to be working with right now. Like when I tell you, it would be so, I'm not trying to pump it up too much because there's always going to be opportunities. You never know what's going to happen. But if it's meant to be, if my gut is correct, this would literally be like, so would literally propel me. And I'm not even talking about money wise, just lifestyle and what I do wise would propel me into um, being in a place that I want to spend more and more time in. I'll leave it at that. Um, but again, like we're going to reflect back on if and when that happens, we're going to be like, it was you doing the thankless work, the fucking blind emails that, and everything else that came before it that led to you being somebody that they saw and were like, there's nothing we're currently fucking like, you know, we're currently scouting for or currently hiring for or currently like partnering for, but like we need to work with this guy. We're going to create something that makes sense for him. It's too much in line with what we do. But again, it's creating the life you want rather than waiting for life to yield you something, right? I think I'm making this so much more fucking complicated. Our analogy would be like, rather than like going on LinkedIn.com and looking for like your dream job, right? And going on there and just being like, oh, that job sounds, I feel like I could do that. That's cool, right? But it's not like I'm not passionate about it, but like I kind of like the company and I think I could fit there, right? It's rather than like having those feelings, and the flip side of it, actually saying, you know what? I don't see a job that I'm in love with. I'm going to email a company that I want to work with, and I'm going to pitch them on creating a job that is tailored to exactly what I want to do at this point in my life. Like, think about if both those jobs were on the table, what your life would look like. On the one side, the standard cookie cutter job that they created that was meant for anybody, and it checked some of your boxes, and you could be somewhat happy there. And it's a safe bet. Or the other job that didn't exist and literally is being made just for you. Imagine which one is going to make you happier and more fulfilled for the time being. And like what I'm saying to you is that opportunity crafted specifically for you is out there. You just have to have the guts to go out there and either A, pitch yourself as that, but B, before that, do the legwork necessary to make yourself into somebody who has the resume and the skill set needed in order for a company to say, we have to have that person as part of our brand in some way, shape, or form. Like, I don't care if that's not what we're hiring for. Figure it out. We're bringing them in. Like, that's possible. That exists in this world. But you have to do all the fucking hard work that it takes in order for that to get created. You have to be the creator first and foremost, along with, the universe and God. But you have to first put in that legwork to start painting that picture. And then eventually things will fall in place. And I hope that fucking made sense. Yeah, I hope that made sense. And I almost feel bad like leaving it there because I'm not sure if that made sense. But I think like it's like you're like the architect, dude, but you have to figure it out. Like anything you want is out there. You just have to get creative and figure out a real like pathway to getting there and to getting it, right? Just like I said about when I started with these DJ bookings. I said I gotta get an original track signed. I gotta play a big time venue in New York City, and I have to self-book a respectable out-of-state tour. And then from there, I know that will be a springboard into all the other opportunities that I want. And that's what's yielding as a DJ. That's what's happening. And then again, all the work I've been putting in for years as a creator, community work and different things, then made me somebody who can say, hey, that brand over there, I align with them. I know I can bring value. I'm going to email them about creating something for me. Right? I see that they're doing other things, but it's not really, other jobs or other opportunities they're putting out there, but it's not really what I want to do. But I'm not going to let it end there. I believe in this brand, this organization, and I believe that I have value. Let me see if I can get them to create something for me. And again, it's not always going to work, but when it does, that euphoria you feel will trump every other bad moment, right? Just like that euphoria I felt as I'm stuffing myself with a loaf of fucking pan sobao. I'm sitting here in the kitchen about to record the podcast. That euphoria I'm feeling and felt in that moment far surpassed all of the depression and low moments that I felt, while 6 a.m, blindly emailing and it being in the studio for hours on end, making music that I didn't know if anybody was ever going to hear, like not knowing what was next, like the win, the fucking, the making it happen. The moment when you're literally living in alignment with your greater purpose and what you really want out of this life, those moments will wash away all of the negative bullshit. And the goal then is, how do I keep doubling down so that moment of euphoria lasts longer and longer, or we have less and less interruptions between those moments of euphoria? And I think that's like the goal we should all be chasing in life, is how do we keep giving ourselves more and more of these moments of joy, of fulfillment, of euphoria? How do we sort of recreate that, rinse and repeat over and over again, so that our life is made up of a majority of times of euphoria, rather than like, on the flip side of it, like how people take vacations, once or twice a year, that's your one release. The idea should be the other way around, where we inevitably will go through shit. We'll have moments, we'll have days, whatever it might be. But for the most part, each day is filled with joy and fulfillment. That's the fucking goal. And remember, in order to get there, you have to put in the grunt work each and every day, the thankless fucking work, right? That doesn't make sense to anybody but yourself. Your parents tell you you're crazy. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your sister, your brother, your cousins, your fucking neighbor across the street all tell you you're crazy. You have to block it out with the knowledge that this grunt work, this thankless fucking work each and every day will eventually yield results you're looking for. And you just have to keep that process over and over and over again, and use those moments of fulfillment, those moments of joy, those moments of euphoria as the fuel that keeps you pushing when you're feeling down, when you're having one of those dark days that we all go through throughout the course of chasing our dreams in this life. I hope that fucking made sense. I know that I feel super energized right now and happy. I feel selfish in even saying that. If you're sitting there like, what the fuck, that was a waste of an hour of my life, I apologize. But I feel like, so go after it, go get it. I love y'all so much. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you tomorrow with a brand new episode for Thursday Trends. Remember, no shows next week. I'll be too much on the road at that point where I won't have a chance to record like I am today and tomorrow. But yeah, I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Till then, stay safe. Peace.